I've been feeling some early signs of burnout. So, this past weekend, I had an opportunity to go to the park and do some outdoor journaling. And in this video, I wanted to share my experience with you. This is actually a collaboration with Moonlit Journal, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite YouTube channels. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that in the last little while, we have been able to connect and become friends, which is one of my favorite things about having a YouTube channel and a little online community where I can connect with like minded people who share a lot of these hobbies that I don't get to really get excited about and share with my friends and family in my personal life. We were chatting about potentially doing a collaboration together, and credit to Moonlit Journal, she had the idea of documenting a journaling or planning date, basically taking our journals out for a date in nature to get some quiet time and fill out some pages. I love that idea. As soon as the weather starts to warm up, the first thing I want to do is have a picnic. And it doesn't always happen. So, with the weather warming up in Toronto, I really wanted to take advantage of spending some time outdoors, away from my computer screen, away from my phone, except in this case, I was using my phone to film this video, and be more mindful and present in the moment and spending time in my wonderful safety security blanket traveler's notebook. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then I invite you to settle in, grab something cozy to eat or drink, or maybe both, and grab something to keep you company while we hang out and chat. I've got my ginger peach tea. Because this already happened, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through what I packed to my little journaling date. The first thing that I brought, of course, is my journal. This is my traveler's notebook, and it houses 3 inserts, which are my memory keeper, and this is in a vertical weekly insert by the Travelers Company. Then I have a blank Midori insert, and this is what I use for my long form journaling. And then I have a sticker release paper insert, which I just use for my stickers. And then I also have a plastic insert where there's a zippered pouch on one end and then there's some extra pockets on this side, and this is also from the Travelers Company. So this is the book that I brought, and I actually used this pouch that I always keep in my larger tote bag, which you'll see in the clips. It's a Teddy Blake tote that was gifted to me earlier this year. And so I always keep this Superior Labor A5 zippered pouch, and I got this pouch from the Superior Labor and Wonder Pens workshop, where we got to design or paint our own pouches. And as you can see, I went for a very safe and very plain painting design. And I like that the Traveler's Notebook fits very comfortably inside this pouch. So it just adds a little bit of extra protection when I'm going out. So it fits really comfortably in there. And inside this pouch, I also packed my Canon QX20. So it's this portable printer that I got a couple months ago. This is the first portable printer I've ever owned, so I can't really compare it to anything else. I did, the only thing I can compare it to is the Canon Ivy because I was able to test out the Ivy when I met with Tiffany earlier this year, and she kindly let me try out her Ivy. This is quite large, as you can see, but I really like the picture quality, and I don't mind traveling with it because it fits really nicely in this pouch. And just as a side note, in case you're curious, it does fit in the Superior Labor utility pouch. But because I have quite a lot of stuff in my pouch, it ends up being quite, let's see, ends up being quite a tight fit. But in case you're curious, it does fit. But I decided I didn't want to stretch my utility case that much, so I left it, I put it in this pouch instead. Next, I brought my Superior Labor utility pouch. Sometimes I do get nervous taking this outside of the house with me, but I remember that these are meant to be loved and enjoyed, and it has pretty much all I need when I'm doing journaling spreads, so I like having it with me. And I won't spend too much, oops. And I can do a more in-depth tour of what I have in my utility case in case you're curious, but basically I have all my writing instruments on this side, and then in here I have accessories like my glue stick, my scissors, and some extra brass clips. So I brought that. Last but not least, I brought my pen wallet. And then as my snack, I packed some mini eggs because it is that time of the year and I love these chocolate mini eggs. Okay, so that is everything that I packed. At the beginning of this video, I talked about how I have been feeling burnt out. And burnout can be described as a response or a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion due to chronic stressors. And I would say in the last few months, there have been a number of chronic stressors. I've talked about it a lot on my channel, and if it feels repetitive, I apologize, but this is something that I am dealing with on a daily basis. But I have been really struggling with like a full-blown eczema flare-up cycle that I haven't been able to manage as well in the last couple of years. Prior to that, I would have flare-up cycles here and there, but they would eventually be managed, and I would say more often than not, I was okay. But somehow over the last couple of years, it has just been sort of all-encompassing. And combining that with the work that I do, and the fact that I have been kind of stacking my work streams. So usually I have two main income sources, and usually one of them is more active than the other, but recently both were quite active at the same time, which really just meant that I was kind of working full time for a very demanding job, and then I was also working my other job, and then I was also trying to keep up with YouTube. So it's no surprise that I found myself feeling burnt out. And the issue with burnout is that it can lead to really high levels of exhaustion, cynicism, and feelings of inadequacy in general. When I start noticing that I'm feeling like I can't keep up anymore, or when I start noticing that things that I used to really enjoy doing, I'm not enjoying, or when even thinking about doing things is starting to feel draining. For a while, I was falling quite behind on my memory keeping. And I realized that last year, my main memory keeping was keeping up with my 5-year Hobonichi, which was something that I would pull out at the end of the week and do a reflection and fill it out in one sitting. And then this year, I decided to add in my weekly memory keeper in my traveler's notebook. And I'm glad that I did it because I think I wanted a space to expand on some of my memories, include more ephemera, some photos, and I've always been hesitant to do that in my 5-year because it's such a big book, and I for some reason I get really overwhelmed with fluffy books. I love to watch that content on YouTube, and it's some of my favorite content to see really full spreads, like full of things. But for some reason, I can't really do that with my own books because there's a point when if the writing experience feels like it's negatively impacted, like it can when a book is really fluffy, I just lose interest in it and I stop using it. So, something I really like about Traveler's Notebook inserts are that they are quite thin and they can be you can trade them out. So if they start getting fluffy, then it's not a big deal. You can just trade it out for something. You can change it for something else. But even thinking about filling out those memory keeping things, like things that used to be fun for me, that just felt really exhausting. And I found myself at the end of the day, instead of taking downtime and relaxing with my journals, all of a sudden I just found myself unable to really keep up with it or to really want to do anything. And when it comes to that that sense of cynicism, there's questions like, well, like you start asking, what's the point of doing this? Or you start to feel like nothing is really changing. And I can say that at least when it comes to my health stuff, it is exhausting because I have tried so many different interventions, treatments. I've gone to so many different doctors. Like, it's just a very ongoing thing. And I know everyone has something they're dealing with, but this is just what I've been dealing with. And it is really tiring. And there comes a point when I come across a new treatment or I come across something new that I can try, and starting to catch myself thinking like, what's the point in keeping up with all the things that I'm trying to do to improve my situation when it feels like nothing is really moving the needle. And the feelings of inadequacy is interesting. I find that this can be related to work. So it could be related to feeling like an imposter at work and convincing yourself that you're not as good as people think you are at work, and looking back at a past version of yourself who was really confident and wondering where that person went, and doubting everything that you're doing. I think it can also um, show up in my personal life where I think about how I'm showing up for my friends and family and feeling like when I'm having these nights of sleepless nights and I'm finding it more challenging to make plans with friends or um, to participate in planning things. As an example, uh, something simple like planning a family dinner, feeling really incapable of contributing in a meaningful way. So that's something that I can recognize. And I've been feeling that way for a while. Um, and even if I'm being honest, my YouTube videos, I often like to ask what you would like to see because I'm so grateful for all of you who decide to spend your time with me to watch my videos. I know there's no shortage of amazing creators out there, and the fact that you choose to spend that time with me means so much. And for that reason, there's a part of me that really wants to make it worth your time. And last year, I used to put out a lot more research based videos, which were a joy to put together. I am a researcher as one of my roles, and I love being able to put those research skills to use by researching topics that I'm very passionate about. And I love being able to share those with you and have conversations about these types of topics. I haven't felt like I've been able to produce those types of videos as frequently as I was last year. And that really makes me sad in some ways because it's something that I really enjoy doing. And there is a part of me that still hopes that I can get there again someday. But I try to remind myself it's hard to be productive when I'm also dealing with these chronic stressors and knowing that it's very easy for that to lead to burnout. So I have been really trying to lean in to my self-care. When I am talking about self-care, I think about it as like a lifelong practice of healthy behaviors or actions that um, are designed to promote and restore physical and emotional well-being. So, um, and this doesn't mean taking a leave of absence or going on a really long vacation or buying myself things to distract myself from how I'm feeling. Not that there's a problem with any of those things. I have engaged with all of those things. But sometimes those things just aren't realistic. Like, oh, I'm feeling burnt out. I'm just going to take X amount of time off work. Or, oh, I'm feeling burnt out. I'm just going to, not do my chores for a week and take it easy. Sometimes there are people that rely on us. Sometimes there are obligations and we have bills to pay. So, what does self care look like then? And I think about it as something that it's not really just one thing. It involves self reflection, which is why I think journaling is so important. It involves self awareness. I find that my health and wellness tracker is really that tool that improves my self awareness because it really gives you some objective information to say, okay, I have been feeling this way. Yeah. So I just find that it's a tool that really helps me sit down and reflect on how I'm feeling, but it also is a place where I can find and look for patterns in what's going on in my life. So that's why am so motivated to keep up with my long form journal and my health and wellness. And it also involves actively seeking out healthy resources and activities that can improve my well-being. So I guess that's why I loved Moonlit Journal's idea of spending time out in nature, because in the last year or so, due to my allergies and my constant flare-ups, I haven't really spent as much time outdoors as I would have in previous years. I don't even think I spent like any days just sitting out in a park and having a picnic or reading a book. And I had my reasons for being hesitant. But I know that being outside and getting fresh air is so important for my overall well-being. And don't get me wrong, like I do take Coconut for walks daily, and I do go for the majority of my runs outside. But those are different. They are wonderful activities, but there's something about staying still outside that I think can be so grounding. So when I took my book out and tried to get over feeling super awkward that I was recording myself at the same time, it was honestly just what I needed. Something I really love about Toronto is the fact that there are parks everywhere. So you don't really have to go too far to find a really nice green space. And having my supplies really reminds me how little I need to actually do my journaling. I'm really happy that I got that portable printer, because when it comes to memory keeping, I was never really one to include photos. And I think it was just because it always felt like I didn't want to waste a whole page to print photos, and then I would try to save up, until I had enough photos to print. And I don't know, it always just kind of seemed like a hassle. And for me, if I'm going to do something, I really need to remove as much friction as possible. Otherwise, I'm going to talk myself out of it and I'm not going to do it. So I do really love having that portable printer. And I honestly had such a great time. I'm already thinking that I want to do it again. And even though my spread was messy, I didn't, have my desk to work off of, and my writing is atrocious. It's letters are bigger and smaller and not centered, or not, lining up with the lines. It's okay, because these are my memories, and I have fallen into a really nice routine of, at the end of the week, trying to pick 3 or 4 top memories from my phone that I think I want to write about. And I find it is a lot more sustainable than trying to memory keep on a daily basis. Although I still think someday I might like to try a 1-day page, but I just know that I don't have the capacity to do that this year. It was lovely. It's the perfect time of the year to be outside. It's not too hot yet. We're not in the middle of summer where the sun is beating down on you and it's really hot and it's hard to focus because it's so humid in Toronto in the summer. But right now is absolutely the perfect time. So I'm just so glad that I did that. I think that's enough for my little chat. I'm gonna meet you back at my desk. Okay, so we are back. I thought I would show you the completed spread that I did at the park. So grab another clip. It was definitely a little messier sitting on that picnic blanket and sort of hunching over and writing on it. My titles are pretty messy, and there were a few of these that Coconut kind of knocked my hand over, like you can see here. But I think that's all part of the fun of letting go and, not trying to be perfect. I liked that I was able to pick a few photos and then I was able to journal about that experience. So that's been working pretty well for me. And I think the most time consuming was attempting to try to decorate around the photos. I don't know, that's something that just still takes me time. But being out there and sort of giving yourself a bit of a time box helped. So yeah, this is what it ended up looking like. So I wanted to close off this video by talking a little bit about Moonlit Journal. If you aren't already familiar with her channel, I highly recommend you go and check it out. I would describe her videos as cozy, calming, gentle, and comforting. We'll go with that for now. Some of my favorite videos that she does are her days at my desk, where she just casually hangs out with you and talks about different things that she's thinking about. And they're usually very stationery adjacent, so maybe she's talking about her fountain pen journey that she's just started, her Hobonichi cousin, which she's found a way to maximize every piece or every part of her cousin to work for her work as well as her commonplacing. And she also has a very mindful and intentional approach when it comes to product consumption, which I admire, because as someone who does struggle with a lot of impulse purchase temptations, this is an ongoing practice for me. So I find a lot of inspiration from her approach and the way that she thinks about things and shares those things with her audience. In the short time that we've been connecting, it feels like I've made a friend, which is something I really love about this planner and stationery community. Everybody is so kind, and we're all just really excited to talk about planners and journals and fountain pens and fountain pen inks, and I love it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope after this you will check out her video. I am going to link it in my description, and I'd love to know, what are some of your favorite ways to tackle burnout? And what are some of your favorite places to journal? If you're still here, thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me today. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.